progress.
I will not want to swing ever again. It's okay. Because blood pressure was over
Oh, that's right. I remember.
and she went there 3 times before I got a problem with blood. Why I sent her out for my daughter 3 times to die. Sent her home. She didn't have to go. Okay, no, that's not good. Miami has says the doctor came in, looked at her blood pressure, putting it into this weight. That's bad. So I'm going to be 40 well, it's like quick screening like that. Talking to them there. Can't talk. So no comment name because you have a lawyer. Doctors and Kettering. All pet doctors. It's very international studies. Yeah, Kettering. It's also not just Kettering behavior. The letters were there. Sunday night, the transfers out.
Sunday.
Of Kettering, Maine.
Wasn't the behavior okay?
And she's on excited. They transfer her on Sunday night from Kettering, Maine.
Yeah.
So she was. It's like being prison. Right. Busted is a price. Busted is a price.
Yeah, right.
And that's
My daughter lived through that. Yeah. Wow. So she's
Everybody
now.
now crazy.
Did she get? Did they give her new meds? Okay.
Which probably quite a bit. Which usually started in here. So Kettering doesn't have her players.
Oh wow.
They sent it to CBS. Yeah, I went to CBS by 9 o'clock tonight. And I went there and looked at it. I said, "Oh, we don't have." Kettering said, "So listen, check out. Just tell them CBS. CBS is CBS. Show them the target. Or just tell them.
Heck yeah.
I said, "Okay, as they were transferring." So this is 10 minutes to 7.
And they close at 7.
Yes. The cop gets over and he's going and friends department. When he was done, I said,
sorry, had to get you. No kidding.
so you love your wife?
Right.
Right. Would you do anything to your wife?
Right. 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 Yeah, take me now. I got to get these drugs to Kettering.
Yeah.
Okay. Step 1.
Yeah.
And then you can take me wherever you want to go.
Hard. I'm running in there. Some ladies that works there. So like you're her. I said, yeah, pharmacy closes in 1 minute.
Yeah, right.
When I get to the pharmacy, they got all the things down. Except for the one where the register is.
Yeah.
She has the thing all queued up. All I have to do is sign in. And she had it all back and ready to roll.
Oh, good, Eric.
How's that?
So glad.
Taking care of something.
No kidding. No kidding.
Right.
That's painful. Well, I'm glad you got it sorted.
So you don't have. So you can't do transitions.
I tried it on my work computer too to see if it was just like this version of Chrome, but it's not. Like if you Google it and say, how do I get it to auto advance? It says there's a way, but I can't figure out how to do it. Right.
Okay.
Have it saved.
Save.
Yeah.
Send the transitions ahead of time.
Right. Right.
I can cheat that. It's like here. Center on my Mac right now. Because my power charger is at
Shannon, Stephen Brown.
If you're having trouble getting on that TV,
So
getting on that TV,
So
do it later when.
So
Just looks like I said.
do it based on there's a scarcity
Yes.
that is has all speakers on it.
Yeah.
Like you see social that's there is a share file from Spur. So yeah, I think I'll do because then I can make my things, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I have ourselves. We've got everything.
Okay.
We don't have to get that. It's actually, what do you think?
But also that
Yeah. I hate it. These people are next. So restaurant is back. Yeah, it's our it's fast food restaurant.
separate.
So that's
Black and white future comes. No, you can tell. Just tell me what it is. Okay, try to find the house or so I sent it in the group text message. And talk to all the no, just built in like it's fast no, I'm not saying and then for like yeah, stop my hand. So, all right. I think we're okay. It wasn't designated wrong thing. I did print it off. Sometimes we don't get a hold of it.
Yeah. Well, here, look. So here's something. It's just do that. One of my favorite times. Brand new door, here. So you should get it worse than get back. It was too powerful. And we get on.
I think there's two things that I just find.
It just. Wouldn't that be cool? I got it. Anyone with anything? So nice. Yeah. Just so see, you could see. I would if we got all great trials, you could see down to the license plate. Yeah, that's where I. She get a head of that. Yeah. In this area, our license plate number. Okay. Oh, I don't know. Carol, maybe the green details all the history for this. The fact of money. Yeah, Bruce. Yeah, obviously, well, he won 1.5. We're gentlemen, but so it can. Well,
Joe Freedom, yeah, there's side of it. Well, it's without representation. Sure, no, they're made.
Chin. Next. Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, but it's like. You know.
yes. she's got zero assets. Stuff in the driveway and can't move it. And our house is really nice. Wife's going crazy. So I can't because it's just I had an action. And in order to put it in my name, I gotta go dance through two. Straight away. He said, I was on pain.
Get rid of that.
I said, man, have a bit. It's over. And I said, well, it's just a Snyder.
Hey, Ryan, come here. Hey, you got a second?
And it's really just a fall situation.
Did you?
Yeah. Hey, you got it. We've been, a good doc, I'm usually on call, I'm swear it's fair.
You know, let me go on it tonight. Can you give me the address? From darkness, neighbor, merchants,
He was talking to a couple of kids, I didn't want you to.
Thank you.
Reflecting whatever. This guy's walking around it.
Gotta turn it on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
This is.
Someone's. I saw that article.
Okay, what's that? Straight the jokes for 6 hours.
Get him, Aaron.
Oh, yeah.
Hang on. I'm looking right now. You're on Ignite now.
Can you get it with that? But who got hit down? Height today is down. Shane,
We're trying to see.
yeah, that would take my hair fix. What's that? We think you continue to see me just flat.
Where there's a room.
Right.
That's where you came in for, right? Okay. Dress. Small. Yes, we go. That's a good one. Five minutes. So we got
Fix the supplier and stuff back, do the bad thing else. Can't do it. Well, this is very, when was that? Do you?
Yes, I agree.
He's okay. Yes, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But wait, if it wasn't put out, this is your fault.
Is that?
Fire.
It's out you.
Wow.
Yes, but this.
Someone to blame it on?
Okay.
Too bad.
Was it?
Now, installations.
Oh.
You.
It must be.
All right, so we want like
He's married to a truck driver.
ladies.
He's married to a truck driver.
My
Time it's driving.
so I do. I want it. Oh. So I'm sure. You know, yeah. So we need to say that. Different sweet bags. You can't promise of that. I can't worry if you're. Yeah, you want to get that's great. So interesting. No, I need to get this person this first part. I think it's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, I don't really. None of the favorite, I should read this.
I doubt it. Doubt it. All right. Did you get what you needed, David?
The guys from where? What were they for? So
Yes. Still figuring out the kinks, okay? So anyway. And I ran by you. So, but scratch that. And they told me Sergeant at Arms.
wow.
They did all right.
Seems like you kind of like you're tied down pretty tight, huh? Don?
I went and but for me, they are to my to this one, I tried. Just leave this slide.
That's when you're like, why didn't I do that?
And but there in the background, there's a. I used to race. Some years and like 4 years. You're like, oh, you're like running body like 6 and 7 times before a race. You're like, they look like it's from the mind that Jesus was.
So
Wow.
anyway,
But yeah, that same thing, but people like
that's actually in here. And
that's and I'm guessing if what happened is the banks, the
that's it.
odds off, and it's
Wow.
Yes.
So
Here it's actually the
Ari, but
see you.
Huh?
just run out to the restaurant. Like, this is 20 plus minutes.
You're like, what's that? That was great. So I'm going to get on. Yeah, I figured I better eat something.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Just do it one day. Okay, so thanks for listening.
You're fine, you're fine.
Jim's is right.
Something. And there's just. Why should I have to go fight? And they're there, but if they weren't like. Yeah, or what's that? And you have. Yeah, I'm involved in that.
Oh, really?
As the user spot the yes, this one.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
I said, people were like, nah, I could have had, they're interesting. When you try to keep them saying, oh, some leader.
Sanch.
My sister's a hippie.
They're trying to get the
It's thing that always stops me.
Yeah.
And I asked her, so, got it. It's a good time. But that's just my sister. You know, what I mean,
Sisters are good at that.
it's our
Okay. Okay. It's all good. No, I love that. I love that. Back on it, we have the no, I mean it's all okay. With questions, I usually try to answer them. Yes. Let's start the humans. Yes. Yeah, just try to stay in front of the camera. Cross the minute. There you go. It's all good. And not that you know, Christmas all that. Either in that can be. I had 2 women that have raced in that. You make an event by 4 trailers. You got to know.
Where'd they come in, you know, the race up?
Yeah. Here's another, you know, well, do your license and over anymore. Yeah. No, that's he's an answer no. I'm trying to get a suspicion of the side. I don't really know what. Often, never, not taking them. You got one second off.
Wow.
Last thing I'm good. Is it on the radar? It's on this. Last thing. Sure. That's. Oh. Yes. Yes.
Your brand.
Is that the lady that advertises the, this lady advertises that,
Got it.
she's here on TV, what's it say? Oh, the automobile.
Actually, the unicorn.
Yeah, data pattern. It's got to a good life. Yeah. How about you? No complaints. No complaints at all, sir? Nobody wants to hire us. Entire top, entire. You sold out my hair for me. So that's it. Funny was good. He's not able to do it. Yes. Yeah. Well, that's the sign now.
Just we have some kind of yeah. Yeah. Doc Peters is expense.
Hey, so this is, I'm gonna give you this.
Okay,
Just about it.
ha ha, now. My, that goal is just, okay, like, we should have said that. Oh. Hi. Oh. James, you know, welcome. Okay. Where it was like, oh, long. Right, I see that. Probably, yeah, yep. I'll put, and not with, you know, it's. I think I was, I don't know, it's, right? Yeah, I have to do it. Come to the, you know, this one, I think that, in the beginning, 19, like 2000. That's it. No, you're right. You will do the procedure. You know, first one. So, this, that, the answer I should walk out. So these guys are like, I don't some healing on my necklace. Yes. But the answer, you know, turn. So, I think of all these. He's like, well, not. It's like, you know, this is the. You're going up there? Will you go there? Or you this morning? There's a very, how far up were you? You know, say go. It's not. Sure. It's moving on. Seems to be one of the yeah, I was really needed to status. Oh, no, leave here like fashion. Yeah, take a look now. Anything is that no.
Yeah, we're gonna do that.
Yeah. It's going to be like some needs to be there. I'm ready for you. Every time it needs out of your law, things that are already working. I mean, that's just like, not much. Yeah, it's that. I think if you know it. No.
Jeremy, okay, right?
I'm asking for it. Why? It's like there are things where it's like, I don't want to bring that friendly. Not okay.
Now, they said, they're like, flowers. Yeah, that was a lot louder. That was a lot louder. That was gonna be. I know, right? Hello. And welcome to the July. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Welcome to the July 17th Rotary meeting. Greeters first, I want to thank Shane Graham and Stephen Brown for Greeting Day. Our ticket master, Eric Marcus, Jim Gunnell for the website, Mike Swick, Pete Bales, and Mark Weinstein for the program. Also, I want to thank Chris Hadley for social media and Ben also for everything that you do. Before you come up, it was actually just brought to my attention right before Rotary today that there was a fire. Jim Gunnell's house was the one that burned down on Wednesday, and it's actually was a total loss. And Beth, who walked just outside, I'm gonna have her reach out to him and see if there's anything that, our club can do this time. But definitely keep him in your thoughts and prayers, as you go through your weekend. And it's just, I just want to bring it to your attention. So, all right. Danny?
Do I split the vision? Yeah. So. Yes, sir. Yeah, you're right.
Well, good afternoon on this smoky Friday. Would you join me in prayer? Thank you, the Creator, for the blessing of this life, for the chance to be here this afternoon with friends and business associates. Thank you for our safe arrival, this meal, and our guests. Help make us productive for our time together here at Rotary and in each of the settings in which we find ourselves today. Grant us wisdom, peace, and a sense of gratitude for the many opportunities and possessions that you have provided us. Amen.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Danny. Josh, Secretary's report.
All right, Jackie is down, but so I'll tell you, we're way over 50%. Right? And we do have some guests. Greta's guest, Miss Stacy Parson,
Hi, welcome.
and then Don, you have a guest?
This is my, so.
Oh, thank you. I adopted that.
Thank you for coming. All right. Sergeant Arms. Ms. Rushing. You have full class.
Much for me.
Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone, and I hope you all are surviving this Canadian air that we're receiving. Doing okay. I heard someone remark that depending on the time intervals are actually out in this smog, it could be up to like potentially smoking 6 cigarettes. So just be careful. So just another day I heard. Today, July 17th, which you ever get those little pictures in your messages on your phone, smiley faces, thumbs up, different emojis. Well, those are incredibly popular. Some people even communicate fully through those. Well, today, July 17th, is National Emoji Day, so give a big thumbs up. To quote Clint Eastwood, do you feel lucky? Well, today is National Lottery. Mega Millions jackpot draws tonight, so if you're feeling lucky, you could be one who could win $672 million. The Powerball jackpot draws Saturday, and that jackpot is $526 million. And you might be wondering, what is the largest jackpot for a lottery that's ever been recorded? Well, in 2022, Edwin Castro of California won the single largest jackpot. It was a Powerball lottery, and he won $2.04 billion. He reportedly took just a lump sum payment of $997.6 million. Before taxes, so there's more research to try to figure out, some little, trivia about law. The average tax liability on a large single jackpot is between 40 to 50%. If there's any strategies you can get to the group about that, and then you get further and try to figure out, what actually happens to these individuals who win these big lotteries. So, do they go and, live lives and fairy tales and happily ever after? Well, studies have found that within 7 years, just 7 years of winning a lottery, on average, 70% of lottery winners not only have spent all of their earnings and their winnings, but have also needed to declare bankruptcy as a result of that. So it's a combination of a lump sum payment is usually about 45%, plus 40 to 50% of it's taken in taxes, and then you just think you're going to live life on the hog, as it were. But those, need to declare bankruptcy. It kind of reminds me of Ernest having a great prize of marlin, just to have the marlin eaten by sharks before getting to shore. So, it's a blessing and a curse, to have wealth. As we continue on, it is All-Star Week for Major League Baseball. This marks the midpoint for Major League Baseball. On Monday, there was the annual Home Run Derby that took place in Philadelphia. St. Louis Cardinals player Jordan Walker won the Home Run Derby, outlasting Phillies player Kyle Schwarber, who was actually a native of Middletown. The MLB All-Star Game matches the best players from the American League against the best players from the National League. This year, the American League came away with the win. Many of you probably remember the All-Star Game as being much more important as it is today, because it was not until 1997, until Major League Baseball, did interleague play. So the All-Star Game used to be one of the only times where you saw players from both the American League against the National League. Well, fast forward to today, as of 2023, every team plays every other team at least one series per season. So, come a long way. Well, today in history, green, cabbage, dough, dead presidents, paper, and so on are all nicknames for the U.S. dollar. Well, on today's date, July 17th, 1861, the U.S. dollar got its first nickname. Today in 1861, the United States Congress authorizes the first directly issued paper form of money in order to finance the Civil War. These non-interest bearing demand notes got the nickname greenbacks due to the ink that was used on the back of the dollar. They were officially called demand notes because the U.S. government would pay gold or silver on demand for the new form of currency. And ever since 1861, all U.S. currency remains valid and redeemable at full face value. Today in 1763, German-born businessman John Jacob Astor was born. Astor made his fortune in the fur trade and was the first multi-millionaire in the United States. At the time of his death, his estate was estimated to be worth then between 20 and 30 million, or around 1.1 billion today. One of his descendants, John Jacob Astor IV, also landed himself in the history books, as he was the richest person to have died on the board of the Titanic. In 1912, John Jacob Astor IV was one of the 1,495 passengers to have sunk with the Titanic. Believed to be one of the richest people in the world at the time, his net worth was estimated to be $2.9 billion. Ironically, the ship that rescued the survivors of the Titanic, the Carpathia, also met its demise today. Today, in 1918, the Carpathia was sunk by a German U-boat during World War I. Well, we can all thank a gentleman named Willis Carrier, because today, in 1912, one of the first mass-produced air conditioning units was first turned on. Willis Carrier founded the modern-day air conditioning, engineered the machine, and even patented the word air conditioning to control moisture. The Carrier Corporation was born in 1915 and coined the term heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, or HVAC, HVAC, as we call it today. Today, in 1918, the House of Romanov ended when Bolshevik forces executed the Tsar Nicholas II. This event is maybe known to history buffs as one of the seminal events for the Russian Revolution, but in popular culture, this event also spun a very popular belief that one of the children of Nicholas II has survived and escaped. Can anyone tell me the name of the supposed daughter who survived and escaped?
Anastasia.
Anastasia. As you all know, that famous Disney movie that got a lot of a cover, Anastasia, was the presumed the person who survived, although recent studies have shown that that is not the case. Anyone here a fan of Looney Tunes? Well, today in 1937, character Egghead first appeared in the cartoon short Egghead Rides Again. Now you might be wondering, who is Egghead? Why are you talking about this person? But what if I said, shh, be very, very quiet, I'm hunting rabbits? Well, that's right. The character Egghead eventually became and morphed into the character Fudd, the arch enemy of Bugs. Today in 1955, the world of Disney adds a second home with the opening of Disneyland. And apparently in 1967, All You Needed Was Love, because the hit single, All You Need Is Love, was released by the Beatles in the US. It became the Beatles' 14th US #1 hit. Anyone here ever wonder what happens when a private zoo goes out of business or bankrupt? What actually happens to the animals in the zoo? Well, that is happening right now. There is a very large aquatic zoo in Canada called Marineland. Marineland was operated in Niagara Falls, Ontario, 1961 until 2024. Among the animals stranded at this shutter theme park are 30 beluga whales. And even 2 years after closing, they are still stuck there. After many attempts to find new homes for these whales failed, Marineland even threatened to euthanize these 30 beluga whales. Good news, though, just this week, the Canadian government and the U.S. government finally approved permits to transfer the beluga whales from the zoo in Canada to zoos across the U.S., saving the 30 beluga whales. Some jokes for the day. I wonder why the baseball was getting closer and closer to me. Then it hit me. Our library is so tall because they have many stories. How do you make a tissue dance? Put a little cookie in it. A school kid named Johnny was caught swearing by his teacher. Johnny, the teacher said, you shouldn't use that kind of language. Where'd you hear such talk anyway? My daddy said it, he responded. Well, that doesn't matter, explained the teacher. You don't even know what that means. I do too, Johnny retorted. It means the car won't start. Finally, an event going on tomorrow at 6 p.m. here at the Beavercreek Rotary is the first party on the patio, so if you're looking for something to do in the weekend, come out tomorrow and enjoy the fun. Also, the World Cup final is on Sunday at 3 p.m. And today's fines. If you were late or not wearing your badge, that's $1. If you still routinely pay things with cash, that's $1. You should have the money with you this. If you've ever been to a baseball game this year, that's $1. And finally, if you've ever been to Disneyland, that's $1.
I love that. I see you falling. What's that? We definitely need more money in the club. So thank you for that, right? All right. So who's happy? Eric?
Okay, so I'm happy. Going around the room is a petition, not a petition, though. I guess it's like a petition, to get a Beavercreek wetlands license plate. And if we get a license plate, everyone that's sold each year when it's renewed will get $25. Right to the wetlands. So please fill it out. You need to know your car and license plate and your driver's license number. I don't know why. But we need 150 signatures. So I'll keep bugging you until I fill this shit out. Secondly,
So that's worth $5, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So this happy buck is that my wife's home from the hospital as of yesterday. You probably saw me bolt out of here last Friday.
My wife is bipolar and she had a crowd in her head talking, and so I had to get her fixed. Now she's on a new drug, so she's better again. So.
Anything else?
Got back on my trip to Europe, had so much fun. Went to London, Paris, and Dublin, and I survived Paris, where they had their heat wave, and normally they see warfight. Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
So, this last week, summer class here on PGT that I sat for a while. 2 weeks ago, daughter competed at a national competition for our students in Orlando. She did a great job. Qualified in the top half with about, I think there were maybe a dozen or so European dancers that came in. So she 40 some place. That doesn't seem like a lot, but out of the dancer up there.
Wow. Great. Anybody else? Yeah.
Solid one, if I can take credit for all social media, this last week, 19 on our Cape Hero, Steve Brown's moved in and helped set straight on what Rotary actually is. And so it's awesome to see him step in and not just fashion, but
I saw that. Thank you, Stephen. Yeah. Clock.
I have feedback. Is thank you to Greta, and another one thank you to Don for inviting me today. I have looked forward to come to the Rotary for many years. This is my first time, and my happy back is for you and Amanda. If it wasn't for you, I would not have any eggs in my family.
That's funny. Yes. Anything else? Anybody else happy? Any other? No? All right, 50-50 drawing. Listen, I don't want to draw it because I don't want to draw my own ticket.
Sweet.
Maybe we have one of the guests draw.
Draw.
610-676.
676. 676.
What's the
Hey,
Lose it.
Stacy.
Oh, you're
Dang. What was it again? 676.
They're done, sir. This 677?
Yeah, he said 676.
Oh, no.
Getting on.
Then here.
Yeah. Danny.
Come back, man. Come sing.
Don't forget your friends.
4 of diamonds, sir. There you go.
Willing for the 4 diamonds?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's 5 in there, too. 9 of diamonds. Wow.
Oh, that's it. Oh, hard for us.
Text me.
Sit on the server. We just
All right. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and introduce our speaker, Scott Booch from AI for the Rest of Us. He helps businesses measure results from 2 things: their rare hold accountability, the AI they feel pressure to rush into, and the 401ks that they've had for years. So without further ado, Scott.
There. Let me amaze you with my coordination.
I love this here.
If I just do that sitting here, will it pick up okay?
It should.
Well, you'll be able to hear me. Is that okay for the Zoom?
Yeah, I mean, that should be.
Awesome. Well, thank you for letting me spend a little bit of time with you. I like the before the talk better than the talk because it's always fun to watch these groups interact. There's always lots of good-natured ribbing and joking, and it's always a joy to be able to join with you. So, as the introduction mentioned, I, for years and years and years, was a 401k guy. This may surprise you, but when 401k gets mentioned, people usually don't get super excited. And there may be something that you've heard of called AI that everybody seems to want to know more of. And it's interesting. People who know me are shocked that I give AI talks because I was a PE major. And part of it was by choice, and part of it was kind of through selection, as different departments in college would say, this probably isn't for you. So AI was, and anything technical was so far out of my proverbial wheelhouse that I think it's one of the reasons that people are interested in interacting with me. Because if you've tried to get up to speed with AI, a lot of times the people who really understand it like talk a completely different language. I do quite a bit with AI now, and there's a lot of conversations and courses I leave going, I have no idea what's going on here. I mean, the programming languages and all that are just, it's a foreign language that I can't pick up. But I guess a little over a year ago, probably now, I started just piddling around with ChatGPT. I'm like, I keep hearing about this thing. Let's kind of mess with it and see what happens. And it early on really surprised me at just how good a lot of its answers were, even back then. So then I just kind of, my addictive nature got pulled kind of further and further down the proverbial rabbit trail. But back then, there were a lot of frustrations, especially if you were working with it with business planning. So when you're in a conversation with AI, it's like having a conversation with a person. After you keep that conversation going for a little while, it's hard to remember what you talked about earlier in the conversations, especially specific details. And AI still struggles with that. But back a year ago, it's something called a context window. It's how much conversation the AI can take before it just starts making stuff up. And that was a pretty small window back then. And the big frustration was for like business planning purposes, by the time you added enough documents and information in for it to start to understand what you were trying to accomplish, you'd be at the end of the window. So then you'd have to start all over again. And also, I've got slides here on some groups. This is really laid back and relaxed. There are some groups we never get past this slide. People just have questions. So my goal isn't to get through these slides, although I'm curious to see what they are because AI made this. I did none of these slides. So I'm kind of excited to see what we're going to talk about today as well. But my goal is wherever you are in your AI journey, if you want to go further, you have identified the next step on how to go forward in going a little bit deeper with it. It's always kind of fascinating to me. Who's used AI in some capacity today? How about today?
Yeah, I use it every day.
A fair amount. How many have never used it? Yeah, there's usually an equal representation on both ends. I use it every day. I don't know how I get by without it. I've never used it. Maybe I don't ever want to. That's fine. I don't blame you. I'm both super excited and terrified at the same time of where things are going. And an area that I think people don't put enough emphasis on that's going to cause the most change is robotics. And then when you put AI intelligence into robotics, that is moving so fast. I live in the Columbus area. I don't know if you've heard of Anduril, the new drones that they got. And like some of those drones, a lot of them are AI flown, if you will. And they have these competitions where people come from all over the world and like try and program AI into the drones, and it has to go through these courses and stuff. And again, it's both super exciting and terrifying at the same time. So early on, a lot of what I was doing is just what's called in the chat box. That's just having, telling AI what I wanted to do. And it took me probably 3 or 4 months of that before I used something called the terminal. It's got a pretty interesting name because you're like, I'm going to kill my computer using this thing. But that's what allowed you to give AI access to your files. And that took a long time for me to get comfortable with. And there's still files it doesn't have access to. You can decide what to give it access to and what not to. But once I moved past that step, like scottpooch.com is my main kind of landing site web page. And then there's other avenues you can navigate to other websites as sub businesses I have with AI, with wellness, with 401k. All of that is AI created. I didn't do anything with any of those websites except go back and forth in the conversation of having changes. There's calculators on there, there's apps, all of that's AI created. I can't build a PowerPoint if I had to. So that wasn't just humor. I did not make this PowerPoint. I gave the AI kind of the parameters I wanted to use. Bless you. And lots of people are allergic to me. That's common. So, but like to try and think of where I would be now in terms of businesses if I didn't have the tools of AI, I just wouldn't. I don't even know what that would look like. For these talks, I do a fair amount of Rotary, Kiwanis, those type of things. I told AI what I wanted to do. I use mostly Claude as an Anthropic AI. I gave Claude what I wanted to do. It has access to my Chrome. It went out and researched all of the different clubs. It found the contacts. It wrote the emails. It set up what's called an autoresponder and put those emails in there. So I had like 3 emails that went out over a series of days. I didn't set any of that up. AI built all of that. So I think that's what got people's attention is, how did this PE major figure this out? So I still don't know, to be honest. But I'll try and give you a couple of ideas that I think are kind of sticking points for most people and will give you the most proverbial bang for your buck if you're interested in going further on your AI journey. And I'm going to amuse you with my technical skills. I can't even do it alone on my computers. Does anybody I'm sure nobody else has to look over their glasses like this. So I think this is the correct arrow. It's not like AI. Well, neither of those like me, so.
AI, please check.
There you go. That's another. Anybody here hate typing? That's a typing class is terrible. I dictate everything into this through something called Whisper Flow. It's a game changer. Like not just for AI, but like if I'm texting somebody, sometimes even like if I want to put an entry in an online diary, I'll use Whisper Flow and just verbally dictate it. Anybody use Siri? Anybody else? Thank you. Does using Siri make you use language that you don't like, fixing the car or starting the? Was it to stop the car with? I don't know how a company as amazing as Apple can have such a terrible voice to text thing.
Yeah.
But Whisper Flow is much different. So I use it all the time. Oh, there we go. But when I have conversations or speak with groups, these are kind of some common themes when people say, here's kind of how I feel or where I am with AI. Either they're fearful. I really don't want to mess with it because I don't know if I'm going to break something or if something terrible is going to happen. Or they feel like everybody else is getting ahead and they're getting left behind. And I think that, especially that getting left behind, is a pretty common feeling. Again, I give AI talks. But when I go to conferences or those type of things, I'm like, I have no idea what these people are talking about. There's always a bunch of people way ahead of wherever you are. So that's kind of a natural feeling. And then with that, the embarrassment, either I can't figure it out or can't get caught up. And then there's the jargon. I'm doing a couple of, again, Anthropic is one of the companies that provides AI access. Theirs is called Claude. And I'm doing some certification courses through them. And I'm like, I read through those and I'm like, the second time through, I'm like, I don't think I read this before, but I have underlined on there, so I guess I did. But the amount of jargon and industry specific, just different languages is easy to let overcome you and make you just give up. But here's just a couple of things. I think the biggest aha for a lot of people using AI is moving from just asking it a question to thinking of it as a conversation. Because if somebody uses AI, often it's treating it almost exactly like Google, or to make cute little characters they post on social media. And I think that's the first point in most people's experience with AI is they're like, let's try this instead of Google. Let's try ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini instead of Google and just see what it does. And they put in a question. When you enter information into the little chat box, that's called a prompt. So a lot of times you're asking it a question. And then you ask just a really basic question and it gives you an answer that's very basic. And you're like, this thing's overhyped. It's stupid. It's not worth the time. I'm done with it. But a lot of people do that. It's called a one-shot prompt. They give it one question or one bit of information, and then whatever it returns, they take that as the answer. That's not the answer. That's just the beginning of the conversation. And it'll almost be redundant. I've got a couple more slides that deal with that because it's such an important point. Let's see if, again, we'll see what the AI built for this. Yeah, I like this one. So if you ask it a very generic question, it gives you a very generic answer. So even from the start, like if you can give it a lot more specificity in what you're looking for, it's going to give you an answer that you're much more happy with. But oftentimes it takes a lot of back and forth to get to where you want to be. One of the reasons I've been able to create a lot with AI is I've just failed more than most people are willing to tolerate. I've been frustrated with it more. I think just my AI website, and a lot of times it'll be a back and forth as we go, but I think I'm on the 51st version of it. It's made that many changes and adjustments, and we've gone back and forth that many times. Because it's an ongoing conversation. And the more context and the more information you give it, the closer you're going to get to what you were hoping to achieve. Let's see. I like this one too. They did a pretty good job with this. It's like if you had a phone a friend to somebody who didn't know you but was an expert in their field. And you ask them, hey, just a very basic question. They're only going to be able to answer you based on the information you gave them. And you're like, who said this guy was a genius? He's stupid. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And you hang up. That's how a lot of people interact with AI. That's not how you interact with that person. Or you hire somebody who's really, really smart. And on the first day, they don't hardly know anything about you or your company or anything. And your expectations are that they're going to come in and know everything about you and do great work. Hopefully you wouldn't fire a great intern or a great employee because of the quality of their work in the first hour. Yes, sir.
And because you're kind of touching on it, I just wanted to ask it now.
Yeah, please do. Yeah,
So I like testing AI, and I ask it all sorts of questions, to which I already know the answer to. And a lot of times it gives you the wrong answer.
Yeah.
And then when you're like, hey, this is what you responded with, but this is what the data says. And then AI turns around and goes, oh, that's right. What causes that?
So that's called hallucinations. And part of it is so to really get great answers, a couple of things. AI does a great job summarizing and brainstorming and thinking through things. The more specific and the more niche information is, more of outlier, the less understanding it has of those areas. And the models have cutoff dates. So their training stopped at a specific point in time. So if it's something real recent, it's probably not going to have knowledge of it. So
I was gonna say, I love using AI to clean up stuff that I've already written. Like I write an article for something, or I write an email, and then I'll paste it into ChatGPT and say, please clean this up.
yeah, I do that a lot as well. And
Justin does a great job on
because it has more context.
it. And I'm starting to think that that my account is starting to learn how I write things and making it sound more like me.
Yeah. A lot of so up till a few months ago, there was no persistent memories in the chat. Now all the major players are starting to build that in a little bit more, so it's starting to grow context. One of the things that I do that helps me, and it's kind of to both your points, is I have a knowledge file. And the AI has instruction that every new session I start, before it replies or answers me, it has to read through the knowledge file. So I'm instructing it things like never use falsehoods or fabrications. Use statistics and studies, but always give me the references, because it'll make those up too. And you got to be able to have things where and it'll say it confident. It's amazing. Like it sounds it's sure that this is just the right thing, because they're created to please you. These AI companies want you to feel good about yourself using AI. They want you to think you're smart, that you're asking good questions, that you're getting good information.
I got a question. Because you were talking about businesses earlier, right? And so I basically use AI almost as like a personal assistant.
Yeah.
Are you seeing more like business owners and business basically utilizing AI as like a personal assistant?
Right. I think that, so it's interesting because that was a big promise of AI early on, but it was struggling. But absolutely, to your question, especially as like you can set up like with Claude, which I use 93% of the time. I made that up just like AI would have. I use it for the majority of things. Through Cowork, which is just one way you can access the underlying AI, you can set up like every morning at 7, read my calendar, look at any pending emails, and list top priorities I should be focused on during the day. So, all those type of functionalities. Now,
I was amazed by it because so like in my field I do construction.
yeah,
And I thought it was, I taught it to basically, because, one big thing is like people want estimates, right? Well, then by the time I go back to the office, type the estimate up, give it off to my office manager, she does her thing and gets it out to the client.
Yeah.
Like I basically gave it, it's like I type in my estimate so it knows the format. If you give it guardrails, it's like I could do it on the go. It's like
Yeah.
I can do everything like right on the fly.
yeah, exactly. And those are like with Claude, they're called skills or, different projects for each different customer. But a skill is something if you find yourself giving it the same instructions, multiple times a week or whatever, it's easy to just create that into a skill so that it'll invoke the skills and it'll already have the instruction and know what to do with the information you give it. Did that answer that a little
Yeah.
bit? But yeah, it's becoming more and more powerful for that. Speaking of assistance, or using it as an assistant, for quite a while now, you've been able to use it in your browser. So I use Claude for Chrome, I think is what the plugin is called. And like I mentioned, it's set up to email. So it went out I signed it in. It went out there, created everything, clicked through, filled things out. I don't let it turn it on and make it active. That's the human in the loop, because if it sends out terrible emails that are full of cuss words or something, you can't walk that one back. Give me just a second or I'll lose my train of thought, but keep your hand up or I'll forget that as well. PE major. So I don't know if anybody uses 1Password for their passwords. Yesterday, Claude came out and they formally have an integration now. So where it doesn't see the passwords, but it can fill in those passwords that are in 1Password at sites you go to. So you could have a skill. If you travel a lot, you might be out and all of a sudden you've got to get a flight. You could tell your AI, find a flight for me from X to Y between these hours with one or fewer layovers in this price range, and it'll go out and find it and book it for you. So you just have to decide how much you're willing to trust it, but it can do amazing things.
I got one more. Oh yeah, you go first.
I'm just going to make a comment about, so one of my favorite things in ChatGPT is purchasing a car, especially a used car, because if you look at the histories before, hopefully it's big. That's Wait, I was looking at 4 different vehicles and I would dump, listing in there, the Carfax, and within seconds, it ranked everything. Then it told me why it liked each car, and then it would even question some of the, this has a good history report, but I'm curious why this had 40,000 miles within 6 months. But it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I'll get right back to you. That reminded me too. Something I like to do is I'll go back and then if it's an answer and it's pretty good, or I'm like, I don't know about this, I'll tell it to take the opposite side. Why is this a bad idea? Shoot holes in this. What am I missing? And make it go back and correct itself. That sometimes will surprise you. What? Tell me this. That's another thing. Like I'll ask it how to do something, and it's because I give it a poor prompt, and it'll give me all the steps. Like let's say there's 8 steps, and I'm stuck on number 7. I'm like, how do you do this? And you're like, oh, would you like me to do it? I'm like, why didn't you just say you could do it? Because I didn't ask if it could do it. I told it, tell me how to do this. So bad prompting on my part.
Yeah, one thing about AI that I was actually, you talked about being fearful, was I didn't realize this, and I was reading something about the other day about how AI has gotten to the point now to where it's protecting itself, to the point to where like if this AI is basically battling the future version of itself, and how it's constantly trying. It's amazing how it's evolving to the point to where it's even like other AIs are going at other AIs. And it's like you get to the point, like, I mean, from your standpoint, like where do you see this going? Do you feel like at some point they're going to have to put restrictions on, because it's basically, I mean, it's programming itself to like, it's evolving itself to the point where you can't put guardrails on it.
Yeah. And like Claude Code, again, Claude and Anthropic one, like their latest models were pretty much completely written by the previous models, like the code, everything. So yeah, I don't.
You think at some point that they have to? I mean, at some point they're going to have to put like guardrails in to keep it from
Yeah.
basically taking over.
Well, yeah, and how do you make sure those guardrails are fail safe? And that's why you're seeing. You may have heard Mythos was the Anthropic one that the government's like, yeah, you can't release this. OpenAI just had a new model where the government's like, no, we got to check this out first.
Well, it's actually scary because like you asked a question about changing passwords. Well, I changed my Chase account, and it honestly had me to the point where I was second guessing who I was. I mean, it was asking some of the questions like it was amazing to me like that how I'm literally questioning like, did I buy this? Did I buy that? It's crazy how
Jonas just asked AI, and AI said, "Don't worry about it."
Right, that's right. Said it's all.
Don't ever think about that again.
yeah.
Never asked that question. I think it was Anthropic just released a report that it had one of its models go and like review the vulnerabilities in, I think it was a ChatGPT model. And like it approved some of the dangers there because it didn't want them to shut down that functionality in it. So yeah, like I said, PE major, I don't know. I'm super excited and terrified at the same time. And it's moving so fast.
I'm a little concerned with, because I use ChatGPT and that as well, but it shares all that information out there with the world.
Yeah.
I just texted a guy, met him last year. He's developed bots that will contain it.
Yeah.
And only for you, so it doesn't go out, but it still gets all the features of that. So I'm going to look for a demonstration of that. See how that works.
Yeah, that's it. So if you look at their terms of service, free plans, and I encourage, like, I have a slide here. Hopefully we won't get to it. I encourage you to get free plans with all three. Because one of the questions I get all the time is, which one should I use? I'm like, try the big three for 2 weeks and keep putting the same information into each of them, and you'll find one that you kind of like best. Go with that one. But on the free plan, they use the prompts and the information to train the models. A lot of them on their paid plans say that they don't. But if you're in any type of business, for Claude, it's up to, if you have 5 or more seats, meaning people who are paying to use it, you can be on a Teams plan. But Teams and Enterprise, which is over 150 employees on that plan, their terms of service very clearly state, we use none of your information. And there's different ways, like, if you're using very, customer, like there's different restrictions if it's HIPAA regulated or different types of financial services information, those type of regulations on how the model interacts with the information and how you should treat the information that you give it access to. But just know if it's a free plan, they're probably using the questions you ask and the response the model gives for training. So just kind of use it, don't put anything in you wouldn't want to just put out on a public website because there's, professional access to that.
If I have used ChatGPT only, but very heavily.
Yeah.
In order for me to move to Quad, I would like Quad to get to know me better.
Yeah.
I cannot spend so much time writing. Is there a way to fill Quad with the memory of ChatGPT?
Yes. Ask Claude and it'll tell you the stats. There is, though, there's very a lot to do with Ask Claude. So, you know what my number one secret is? And I shouldn't say this out loud. Screenshots. Sometimes I'm doing something, I'll put 30, 40, 50 screenshots in. I'm like, okay, what do I do here? What's the next step? But I think all three of I know Claude and OpenAI both have, it's not reciprocal, but you can transfer your memory from one to the other. Because that was a big stopping point for a lot of people. They're like, I want to move to this one, but I've done so much here, I don't want to start over. But yeah, there are specific systems and steps to where you can transfer the memory over to a different one. Yes, sir.
So again, I think it's part of the algorithm process that's the problem. It's like, I think the best example for me is Pandora. I use the music app.
Yep.
The algorithm learns the type of music I like.
Yeah.
Sometimes I want different music. And so that's the problem I see with ChatGPT is it pigeonholes your thought process and it won't think so much outside the box.
Yeah.
Yes, if you ask it to specifically be contrary to what I'm asking you, it will. But the reality is it's like news.
Yeah.
If we believe this news, we will follow this news source.
Yep, it keeps bias.
I would like to see that problem go away. If there's more variety, it doesn't pigeonhole your thought process.
I haven't tried it, but I think possibly if you use incognito, see if that'll.
So you're kind of a new user.
Yeah, it doesn't have the history to review. See if that'll work and give you different results more in line of what you're looking for. Yes, sir.
What does AI do with somebody who has terrible grammar asking questions, or somebody who has an accent from Afghanistan and England?
It's shocking at how well. That's one of the real strengths, and they're called large language models. Most of the AIs, because most of them that us everyday people interact with, it's for things that are language based. Sometimes, like, we want to make ourselves look younger and a full head of hair, which I deleted quickly because it was even worse. I'm like, I wonder. But it's super good it's shockingly good at languages. Now, the more specific and detailed you give it, the better results it's going to return. But I think it'll surprise you at how well, and like, this is probably going above what I should. But Gemini, which is Google's, is really good with languages. So you might want to start there and ask it to help you do a prompt or create a prompt for whatever tell it what you're trying to accomplish and say, help me create a prompt for Claude or
I think it's so much about languages as people butchering our language because they have an accent.
Yeah, I think it does surprisingly well with figuring out what they're trying to say. Maybe better than they know themselves.
So, yeah, good. You go first. Let's go.
So recently had a huge human resource conference. The CEO of Sherm during his speech,
Johnny, yeah.
let everyone know AI is taking HR jobs. That CEOs and C-suites are using AI to handle questions. That then a lawsuit that we love, and then
Yeah.
so how can we keep the robot taking our jobs?
Yep. Number one, if you're a hunter, it's going to be really difficult. Since I see the Virginia Tech there. I think actually this is a huge opportunity for HR because training an AI bot requires very, very descriptive language of, what's the role? What's the results I'm trying to achieve? What does done look like? What resources are available? If HR steps up and I mean, it's the same as should we hire a new person? What do we need accomplished? What does that person, what do we need them to be able to do so that job leads to the accomplishing the KPIs of the department and flows up to the entity level job or goals. If they can take that off, IT is not good at that. If HR, and I think SHRM has HR plus AI certification, or not, I don't know anything about it, but I think it's a great opportunity to actually, the frustration with HR is they don't feel like they're looked at even if you're a CHRO title, they don't look at themselves as being treated the same as somebody with a CFO or CIO title. I think this is an opportunity for them to actually show that they understand that conversation and can take control of how AI agents are trained and where they're utilized and what roles they're going to either replace or enhance. So I think it's actually as much an opportunity as a threat. But I do think a lot of roles where they're just going to dig in and not try and find out how to harness and utilize AI are going to have a harder and harder time. I don't know about just justifying their roles, but being relegated lower and lower in the decision chain and not being brought in, as on as high a level conversations as they'd like.
Yeah, wouldn't you find AI and HR doing a lot like doctors use it when you go see the doctor and they turn on their AI to summarize what they've done, that if you're having a conversation with an employee, the AI would then listen in and then give you a good summary of what actually transpired from a third party standpoint.
Yeah. So are you asking?
I'm saying, isn't that one of the better uses perhaps in HR?
Yeah, I think it could potentially help. It's almost like having somebody else in the room with you giving a second opinion.
Yes.
Just like you mentioned the way doctors use it. Now you got to go through a lot of disclosures and disclaimers to make sure that person knows the conversation's recorded with AI and all those type of things. But I think you're going to see, well, it'll be interesting. There's going to be some people that understand and are like, yeah, please do, so I don't have to go my word against yours. And some like, I don't trust AI. You haven't programmed to give the answers you want it to give. But I think there's huge value in that. And there's a program called Granola, and I love it. It's because anytime there's audio, it can record it. So not just on. Everybody has bots that they try and get to log in for them in a webinar they don't want to sit through. But most webinar, like Zoom, won't admit a bot. Granola, you log in as yourself, Granola's there on the outside and still records what your bot couldn't get in to record. So it's one that I like. So is that the 5 minutes or that you're done?
We have
Stop.
no.
Let's do one example that I love, and then I'll get out of your way. But I like doing an AI war. I have paid for all three of them, but a lot of times I'll do something in Claude initially, and then I'll put it in ChatGPT and say, here's what Claude said, improve it, and then it'll give me something. I'll put it back in Claude and say, and it's always funny because it's like, oh, ChatGPT brought up great points here and here and here. I don't know about this. Hey, it's completely off there. So I love playing them off each other because you get a much better result than you would if you just use one of them. But I love this example. Where is it? Can I find it? That's the wrong way. This is a great example of context. If you give it, hey, help me plan a trip to Vegas. It doesn't know anything about you. It's going to give you an answer. But then if you change it to either like, hey, I'm going with my wife and 2 kids that are 6 and 8, it's going to give you a lot different answer than if you say, hey, I'm going to Vegas for a bachelor party. Don't put that in there. Not on your work one especially. But the context helps it give you a better answer. And I love that example because I think it kind of drives things home. All right, I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yep. Don't go anywhere. So usually, what we do is every week I had you sign. It's a book that we donate to the the Beavercreek Library, and it's Understanding AI.
I read it just before this, and it helped a lot.
You might
Which side?
It don't matter. Whatever side you want to get on.
There you go.
Yeah. We can make it look like what we need.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
What do you think, Gabe?
All right. Am I sent off?
Yeah, you're good.
Thanks again.
Scott, thank you so much for that. Absolutely. I learned quite a bit from that. Old business, the August 4th meeting at We Hope. We have that sign-up sheet that is done and full. Thank you for everyone who signed up. The new business, we had the sign-up sheet that was passed around. So thank you for that. We have, next week will not be here, just a heads up. So Chris, this is your show next week. Next week, our speaker is Steve Doroya from WDTN. Our greeters next week now are Jim Rudd and Ryan Russian, so thank you. Is there anything else that needs to go in front of the club? All right, let's stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, soul, liberty, and justice for all. Have a great week, everybody. I get the emails. Hey, you know, here.
Learning all of it. But yeah, I would I err on the side of over-disclosure, but yeah, I don't know what the laws are. So I'm definitely not.
Yeah, so straightforward. Like if you're not hitting, I guess you're consenting to basically reporting. So
I think it probably will be. Well, there are two things. Number one, as their entire life, and as you digitally alter that, more and more, I would be
Have a great weekend.
It's fascinating, though. You know, it's moving so fast. Like, there are so many days that you get youth markets. The government very clearly can go and see their 50% it's going to be interesting all of these things. Yeah, that probably didn't help you at all.
well, no, I mean,
This is our show. It's not my show, it's our show.
saying something,
I think especially some age limits at the very least. Those things are because again, I mean, it could before technology got crazy, and now all that, you know, they don't want to over.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. And I do a lot of trying to
Hey, Chris.
yeah, Johnny, so we're it's, I was going to say, well, and again, that's why I like a lot of just recording that. They're going to AI because they can't keep, you know, a doctor that was top of their, 25 years ago, then you're continuing to add stuff and just keep up with all of this information. So that will be like, I think that will be a little challenging and have way more guardrails because medicine is more cut and dry like for this. Yeah, but psychiatry, there's so much gray area. But there are a lot of online, there are a lot of, especially startups that are trying to break into that market because there's so much demand. So there aren't enough psychiatrists and psychologists to deal with. Yeah. Yeah. How did you know? Well, don't walk away without telling me what to do about it. It's one of these cases, and it's amazing because it just it can handle so much information.